Hello you guys, welcome back. My name's Hannah Thornburg. I am now a second-year resident physician. I am in a family medicine residency program. So after residency, I'll officially be a family medicine physician, and I'm actually going to be starting my own direct primary care practice after residency. So I previously made a video about kind of what direct primary care is for anyone who's interested. I am by no means an expert. Of course, I have not yet started my practice, but I am in the process of learning as much as I can, rotating and learning from, direct primary care physicians in the community this year is going to be really exciting. Yeah, and really just learning along the way. So I wanted to take you guys along this journey, hence why I've been starting to make these videos, because it is such an exciting journey. And, going into residency, starting your own practice is something that most people don't typically do. They'll typically sign on for a more stable contract. And so there's so much that goes into, starting your own practice right after residency. So a lot of people are gaining a lot of interest in direct primary care. A lot of residents are thinking about doing this as well. So I kind of want to, document this journey and share what I'm learning. But again, by no means an expert. So take this all with a grain of salt, but I do hope that this is helpful because this is what I have learned from my experience so far. And as I keep learning and growing and evolving, I'll continue to share this journey and hope that it's helpful for any residents or fellow physicians or even any patients who are interested in direct primary care. So I previously made a video about what is direct primary care, or DPC. That is the first video I made on direct primary care. So this will be my second one. If you haven't seen that one, definitely go check that one out. It's a really good one. Kind of goes into why this is something that I really believe in and I'm super excited to start. And gives a little bit of context because it's going to be expanding rapidly. It already seems to be. And so I definitely want patients, if you're looking for a physician, to be aware of what this practice is and maybe find someone in your local community. But one of the main questions I get, both with that video, people would reach out to me and ask me, or with regard to just in life, when I tell people, yeah, I'm going to start my own direct primary care, people will ask me like, oh, is that like concierge? Like, what is that specifically? And so that is like seriously one of the main questions I get asked. And I wanted to address that in a video here. So here we are. So let's start first with the typical fee-for-service system that we live in right now. Most doctors are within the fee-for-service system, which is basically kind of the more traditional model of how healthcare is reimbursed, essentially, in the United States. And so for primary care doctors, we'll see patients in the office based on, the services provided. We will bill and code for those services provided. And basically this is to demonstrate the value of what we did for our patients to insurance companies. So we have third-party companies who are then deciding how much to reimburse us or essentially pay us physicians for our services to our patients. And so say you're in your primary care office and you see your doctor on their computer kind of crunching away some numbers. They're likely doing some billing, coding, or documenting the encounter. This is another reason why there are so many patients that a physician has to see in a day. If you're frustrated as a patient, just know as doctors, we get frustrated with this too. Truly, I wish I could spend an hour with all of my patients. I tell my patients that all the time. I can tell my co-workers all the time. Because, the reimbursement is not dictated by us or by our patients, but it's by the insurance companies. So to keep up with the reimbursement model, a lot of physicians have to see more patients to make sure that they're making their desired salary, essentially to make ends meet. And so really not much control over how much you're making per patient. It's more so you need to see more patients to make your desired income. So that's kind of one of the common issues with the fee-for-service model is doctors are kind of straining to see more and more patients, which is not fun for the doctor, and it's also not fun for the patients because oftentimes the visits can feel rushed and they might not have enough time to address all their concerns. And so I'd say that's one of the big issues with that model, and I'd say patients and physicians both agree there. So that's kind of course, it's so much more complex than this, and I'm by no means an expert on this, but this is just my understanding from being in residency for a little over a year now, and just kind of the general summary of kind of how that model works at a very large scope. Kind of going into concierge, and then we'll compare that to direct primary care. So concierge is a private practice, typically a private practice model. They typically will charge an upfront, typically an annual fee for a concierge practice. and this will typically be in the thousands of dollars. And so this tends to serve a more higher socioeconomic status patient. And so they're paying, typically thousands of dollars up front to be allowed into essentially this concierge practice, to become a member, I guess you could say. Of course, there's many different models. Some don't have that upfront fee, but a lot do. And then from there, so say you pay, this could be the amount, like $5,000, for example, for the year, so that you can be in so-and-so's practice. A lot of the times concierge doctors will still bill insurance, so they can get that reimbursement as well, kind of the fee for the services they're providing. Sometimes they won't. Sometimes they won't use insurance because there are hassles associated with that, and they'll rely more on that annual upfront cost. And then on top of that, a lot of the times the concierge doctors will also bill, or not bill, I'm used to saying that because I'm in the third party system right now, but they are used to charging an extra amount for each visit. So the patient paid an initial amount, for the annual fee, but then they're also paying, a set amount per half an hour visit or per hour visit. So say that could be, $330 for a half an hour visit, maybe $500 for an hour visit. I have a lot of fun because I'm trying to learn this whole process of like looking up different doctors and what they're charging for their time. So those are kind of some numbers kind of in the realm of what I've been seeing. It can vary so much though, because ultimately it's up to what the doctor feels is best for them, and then also what the patients are comfortable paying essentially for their ideal patient population. So this tends to be a more, again, more wealthy patient population. And one downside I kind of see with this is that I definitely think it incentivizes the patient to almost second guess if they want to book, an appointment, because, oh, do I have $500 to spend? Do I want to spend that money? Do I want to book this appointment with my doctor? So it really kind of makes you think twice, or it would make me think twice for sure, if, you'd want to bill that appointment because you are paying more money. You haven't quite, maybe budgeted out for another appointment. So it kind of makes you think twice. I've also seen models where, again, they don't have that annual fee and they just have, as you need a service, pay this fee for, right to the doctor for like either, $300, $500 per half an hour, for an hour, whatever that is. So some of them will just do it like that, where patients are just paying for a visit and not an annual fee. And there's a wide range that can be done. Again, they can use insurance, they cannot. But basically that's kind of how concierge medicine tends to work from kind of what I've seen and what I've been reading. So you've got that large annual fee to kind of be in the practice. Usually that seems to exist, and that's kind of involved in the main definition of concierge medicine. It doesn't always exist. And then typically you'll have a fee for each appointment in addition to that annual fee. And then sometimes concierge doctors will still use insurance, but sometimes they won't. So a lot of variance there, but I hope that gives a good, kind of idea of how that works. I would say this is a good option if, say, you have a high deductible and you're otherwise pretty healthy, you haven't used your insurance that year, and you need a big procedure done, or you need a ton of, workup done for an acute thing, and you want to see a specialist, maybe, and it's just going to be a couple of appointments or even one appointment, and you're already going to pay a large fee because you haven't used your deductible yet. This might be a time where you're like, okay, like there's a concierge doctor down the street, they charge this much for an hour, they're going to be able to get the job done. I'm going to go see them and just kind of pay them up front and go see them because they're highly respected. You've heard good things from your friends, and so you want to see them. But I definitely don't think it's the ideal model if you're going, if you want easy access to your doctor throughout the year for preventative medicine and all that kind of stuff. Because in my eyes, again, I don't have much experience with this, but kind of from looking into it, it kind of seems to de-incentivize patients from making a lot of appointments with their doctor because, it is so pricey, which, can kind of help the doctor have some balance because they might not have patients booking so frequently. But in my eyes, as a, future family medicine physician, that is definitely something that I value, is getting that continuity and getting close, frequent touch points with my patients. A really great benefit of concierge is you really can get that time with your doctor. And one thing that I've kind of heard through the grapevine is I think because you are paying your doctor so much, a lot of the time there may not be as good of a boundary there because patients may expect more from the physician because they are paying so much. So they may expect, you know, patient or the physician to be available after hours and that kind of stuff. So it may be hard to kind of set boundaries. So those are just kind of some thoughts there. I'd love to hear if you guys have any additional experiences. You know, of course, this is a great model for some and not for others. That's why it's an option, and some people do really well with it. And there's a lot of people that I've met during medical school and residency who are thriving with this and are great physicians, and I know are helping people. So, you know, that's concierge medicine. That's not what I will be doing. I'm going to be doing direct primary care, which I think is a great option for family medicine physicians. So kind of moving over to that. So moving over to direct primary care, this is a model where basically one of the main, I would say, pillars of this model is we don't use insurance. I'm going to say we because that's going to be me and I'm excited, but they do not use insurance. And so they bypass that. You are no longer, you know, trying to show insurance companies that you provided value for the patient. You're not trying to demonstrate that to the insurance companies. You're demonstrating that the value that you provide to your patients directly to your patients, and your patients are the one directly paying you. So you kind of bypass all those third-party systems, and it's patients paying the physician for their services. And so I think that's so beautiful, and I think that's the way it really is meant to be. Okay, and so for direct primary care, patients are paying more of a monthly fee is typically what it ends up being. And this fee tends to be more affordable than the concierge fees. And so this monthly fee, I've seen, you know, doctors charging as low as $50 a month. Doctors charging $100 a month seems to be the most typical that I've seen so far. And so it's basically like a subscription for the patients. Again, not saying this is going to be affordable for everyone. I know a lot of direct primary care doctors that I've kind of been reading their books and speaking with will make a discount for patients who truly cannot afford that amount, because ultimately the goal is to be able to provide care for the patients. But, you know, $50 to $100, a lot of patients will be able to afford this, and it really does bring patients that really value the direct primary care model. So it's a really nice mutual relationship where the patient's really excited to work with the doctor and they're very invested. And so they see the value, and so they're paying for that service essentially. And so paying monthly, patients are able to budget out. They know what to expect. They know what they're paying every month for the year, and they can also cancel at any time, typically with a month to 2 months notice. And so it definitely is a more affordable option than the concierge. It's also more predictable because you know what you're paying, and there's not an extra fee per visit. So to me, that is the biggest thing, because I don't want my patients to feel that they can't come see me because it's going to cost an extra certain amount of dollars to get an appointment with me. The beautiful thing about direct primary care is the patient has paid, say, $100 a month. They can come whenever they want. So because you also have less patients, because you're able to, you know, have a smaller patient panel because your patients are paying you directly, you don't have to worry about insurance companies and all that. You're usually able to have a smaller patient panel, and you're usually able to see your patients same or next day, which is so much different from, you know, patients having to book like a week, 2 weeks, even months out to see their direct primary care, or to see their primary care doctor. They don't have to worry about, you know, budgeting out an extra, you know, $500 to get an appointment with me. They've already paid their monthly fee. They know I'm available. They're able to go on my website, book the next appointment, and come see me, or message me, hey, this just came up, when are you available? So that to me is a huge benefit, especially as a future family medicine physician. You know, valuing that continuity and being able to see patients super close for follow-up is huge. Say you want to go over lab results that just came back, and you can bring them immediately into your office, and you don't have to have that feeling that, oh, my patient's paying more money for this. The patient to be under stress, making sure that they're getting everything out of that appointment because they're paying more money for it. I think it takes away that extra, you know, stress that increased fees can, you know, cause. And so I love the direct primary care model, obviously, because that's what I'm going to be doing. And to me, that is the biggest thing, is that it's just very, you know, transparent with the costs. Patients know what they're paying, and they don't have to pay any extra fees to get an appointment with you. And the direct primary care doctors are very available. The goal is for same to next day visits. Direct primary care doctors, I know I mentioned with the concierge that there may be a boundary difficulty. That is a difficulty with direct primary care doctors from kind of what I've listened to on different, you know, seminars and in books. Like, it's really important to have boundaries and kind of setting that with your patients. If there's an emergency, of course, you want to be available, but not getting messages throughout the night. And I think having a lower cost threshold, making it more affordable for patients, I think definitely takes away some of that financial pressure that, oh, my patients are paying me so much, like I should be at their beck and call all the time, I think is sometimes the vibe that concierge medicine can set, while direct primary care is, okay, I'm their primary care doctor. My patients feel good about the cost, which, concierge, they totally could too. It's a, a patient population that, can afford this. So that might be different too. But I definitely think it makes it less stressful for direct primary care, where it's a comfortable amount of money for both the physician and the patient. And so I think it allows a little bit less pressure for the doctor to not have as many boundaries. I think it makes boundaries hopefully a little bit easier. That's something that I'm going to have to work on though as a direct primary care doctor, because I've heard that that's a huge aspect as well. So anyway, I hope that is helpful. And kind of in a summary, concierge, you get that typically an annual fee, and it's a very high fee. And then there may be fees for each visit as well, and they can still sometimes take insurance. Of course, things kind of change in between there. Typically a more wealthy patient, kind of that upper class patient, is typically what you'll see. Can be beneficial for kind of some of those more acute specialist visits when you'd use your deductible anyway, in my opinion. I think that kind of makes sense and kind of what patients might use it for. And then you have your direct primary care, which patients are paying essentially a subscription for you to be their doctor, and they're directly paying you. They're not using a third-party system, so the doctors aren't billing and coding and trying to get reimbursed that way. They're getting directly paid by their patient, and it's a monthly fee typically. Patients don't have to commit to a whole year. They can cancel if they no longer want to be a part of the practice, but it's an amount that patients are able to kind of budget out, know how much they're paying, and they don't have to pay extras to see their physician, say the next day if something comes up. So they're not kind of de-incentivized to not make an appointment. It kind of encourages patients, hey, you already paid, might as well make an appointment and see your doctor. So in my eyes, I think it's definitely going to increase the amount of touch points I have with my patients. I want to see them super frequently, and I think that ultimately for family medicine physicians increases the quality of care with your patients. And so anyway, I hope that is helpful. Let me know if you have any thoughts, questions, anything like that. Anyone who has more experience than me, please share your thoughts as well. Again, I will be the first to say I am not an expert on this, but I've been reading a lot about it, listening a lot about it, and talking with a lot of people about this because I'm really excited about it. And I'm learning. I'm in that stage where I'm learning about what direct primary care is. And I've also been explaining to people the difference between concierge medicine and direct primary care, because I think that is a common confusion point. People don't understand the difference, and so I hope this is helpful. And yeah, let me know any questions you guys have. Be sure to subscribe if you have not already. We are on this journey. I have this year, second year of residency, and then third year, and at the end of third year I will be launching my own practice. And so I'm sure there's going to be so many bumps along the way, but it's a really exciting journey, and yeah, truly could not be more thrilled to know what I want to do and be so passionate about it. And I know it's going to be just such an ideal practice for me and my patients, and I cannot wait. So thank you guys, and I will see you guys next week.